In the second part of section 1.7, we're going to talk about variables and combining variable terms. In my first problem, I have negative 3 times 4x. All we have to do is multiply the coefficients, so negative 3 times 4 would be a negative 12 and an x. Remember, your signs are different, so your answer is negative. The next two problems are just repeats from an earlier section. In your original problem for letter B, you have 10x plus x. Now, of course, that second x is understood to be a 1x. So when you're putting them together, 10 plus 1 would give you 11 and x. Notice that the x doesn't change. All you do is add the coefficients. Our next problem is 15x minus 8x. These are your adding and subtracting rules back from earlier sections. We have different signs, so different signs tell me to subtract and take the sign of the larger, which would make this a negative 3x. We've distributed before, but when we distribute now, we're also distributing negative signs, which we haven't done before. So my problem here is negative 2 times 3x minus 5. So I'm going to take negative 2 and I'm going to multiply it across. So when I do that, I get a negative 6x. A negative 2 times a negative 5 will give me two negatives, and two negatives make a positive 10. I can't put those together because one's an x group and one's a constant, so they're not like terms. Okay, my next one I'm going to distribute, and I have 3 times parentheses 2x minus 5 minus 2 times parentheses 5x minus 8. I'm going to distribute this 3 through first, and then I'm going to pick back up and distribute this 2 through. But you'll notice that 2 is not a regular 2, it's a negative 2, so you have to be really careful with your signs. When I distribute the 3, I get 6x minus 15. And when I distribute the 2, that would be negative 2 times 5, negative 10x, and two negatives make a positive 16. At this point, we have to combine our like terms. So I have a 6x and a negative 10x. My adding subtracting rules say they have different signs, so I subtract and take the sign of the larger, so that's going to be a negative 4x. The other part that I have is a negative 15 and a 16. Those have different signs, so I subtract and get 1. Since 16 is larger and it's positive, that's going to be a positive 1. In my next problem, I have a negative, and then I have parentheses 4x plus 3. This is understood to be a negative 1. So I'm going to distribute through, and when I distribute through, I get negative 1 times 4, so that's a negative 4x, and negative 1 times 3 would give me negative 3. For my last one, I have 8a minus 9a. They are like terms. My subtraction rules here say that I have different signs, so I subtract and take the sign of the larger. So I would get a 1a, and since 9 is larger and 9 is negative, it would be a negative 1a. This concludes the variable part of section 1.7.